Another example, soon after the events of September the 11th, 2001, the leaders of the Islamic Center in Richmond approached Hope in the Cities, and they said, can you help us get into conversation with evangelical Christians? They said, we've received many invitations to speak at liberal mainline churches, but they said it's the evangelicals, the conservative evangelicals, who are causing us the problem. And so we brought together a group of 7 Muslims and 7 leading Christian evangelicals, many of whom I have to say were extremely nervous about coming into this dialogue. The group included the president of the Islamic Center, and it included the leader of a foundation actually promoting Christian evangelical movements, efforts in predominantly Muslim countries. And it's very interesting because the start of honest conversation began when we asked both groups to share with each other family stories that illustrated values that were precious to them. Not surprisingly, they found much in common. Then we said to them, well, to what extent do you feel that your faith traditions are either supported or threatened by contemporary American culture? Both groups felt threatened on issues of family life and other issues. So a little bit of common ground began to be built. It was also very important that Christians and Muslims felt free to state at the outset, we believe our faith is the best. As one said, well, let the best one win. And at that point, everyone relaxed. And they also agreed that strong faith need not mean closed-mindedness. Then, a little later in that first day, we asked each group to go to a separate room. We call them affinity groups. The Muslims went into one room, Christians went into another room, and we gave them 2 questions. We said, it's true that both Islam and Christianity have great traditions of peace building. But what is it that we have done in our group, what is it that we are doing in our group that is undermining this tradition? And secondly, what is it that we need to hear from the other group in order to begin to build trust? These are questions that we use in many different forms of dialogue. There's a question of looking, what is our own responsibility for change? And what is it we need to hear from the other side? And when they came back, the Muslims said, well, we believe that we have been too isolated. We have secluded ourselves from the concerns of the wider community. We've not been vocal enough sometimes on violence and on human rights abuses. But they said to the Christians, we need to hear from you a commitment to the principle of religious pluralism and to civil rights. The Christians, for their part, said, well, we feel very ashamed. We have never built relationships with any Muslims. We failed to see Islam as a potential ally in fighting social and moral ills. And for their part, they said, we need to hear from you to be unequivocal in denouncing any acts of terror and also anti-Jewish sentiments. Well, that was the start of a dialogue which has now been going on for 7 years.